Um, Here, we got the quiet part out loud here, and the quiet takeover of the Tea Party is the quiet takeover is part of the Tea Party, and the GOP establishment is now full blown maggot. Now with the new maggot establishment, the former pathetic flies and bomb throwers of the Republican Party now. Now House Speaker Kevin McCarthy made good on his promise this week, where he basically promised to exact revenge on Democrats for denying committee assignments to far right extremists Marjorie Trader Greene and Paul Gosar. And he booted two California congressmen, Representatives Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell from the Select Committee on Intelligence. As Speaker, McCarthy has the power to make this move unilaterally, but he also proposed kicking Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar up the Foreign Relations Committee, which will require a vote of the full House, which he will not get. So the cycle of revenge has officially fucking begun. It should be noted though that the removal of Green and Gosar, both of them have addressed white nationalist have addressed at white nationalist gatherings, and they publicly advocated for the deaths of Democratic officials, and then being removed from their committee was decided by bipartisan vote by the full House. But that was an earlier and more innocent time, if you can call it that. A golden era when death threats against Democratic colleagues were considered a bad form by at least a handful of Republicans. Now it was all the way back to the year 2021. Well, if you can consider it a lifetime ago, which it doesn't feel like that, but in the Republican Party of 2023, Kevin McCarthy's clown shows such behavior is rewarded with plum committee assignments, while prominent critics of Donald Trump are politically sacrificed in ritual acts of retribution. There is no difference now between McCarthy, Jim Jordan of Ohio, and who's a Freedom Caucus founder, and the Florida's pedophile Matt Gaetz, who's a maggot gadfly, and they are all the Republican establishment now. And nothing illustrates that better than the relationship between the Speaker of House McCarthy and his right-wing woman Greene, who he vowed never to abandon. Basically, this is something he did say: "I will never leave that woman. I will always take care of her, even though she doesn't give a shit about you." If you're going to be in a fight, you want traitor in your foxhole. When she picks a fight, she's going to fight until the fight's over, even though she lost. She reminds me of my friends from high school. I'm surprised you even have fucking friends. That's an interesting thing to say about a woman who recently told a Republican audience in New York that if she had organized a January 6th Klan riot, they would have won, and not to mention it would have been armed. The New York Times describes this new maggot establishment this way: with the political union, a closer and more complex one than has previously been known, helps explain how McCarthy rose to power atop a party increasingly defined by its extremes, and the lengths to which he will go to accommodate those forces, and how much influence Trader Greene and the faction she represents have in defining the agenda of the new House Republican majority. And it feels as if this shit has happened overnight. Now, Trader Greene was just elected to the House in 2020. She never even served when Trump was squatter. Now, during his tenure, she was just an average QAnon dumbass pushing conspiracy theories on Facebook. A scant 2 years later, she's being discussed as a possible running mate for Donald Trump in 2024, and how the fuck did it come to this? Well, it was actually a long time percolating in the party. We can go all the way back to Joseph McCarthy back in the 1950s, and then jump to Barry Goldwater, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and Newt Gingrich to see the evolution of what was once the party of Main Street into an ideologically extreme political faction. The seeds were sown all throughout those eras, but this new maggot establishment is a direct outgrowth of a specific movement of the past decade or so, which is called the Tea Party. The whole Tea Party phenomenon seems sort of quaint now, but it had a powerful influence on the Republican Party. And there were a lot of rationales for its formation, springing up as it did in the wake of the financial crisis back in 2008, but the real impetus was the election of the first black president, which seemed to send a good number of Republicans into a frenzy of revolutionary zeal. As is usual, when a Democrat wins the White House after a GOP squatter has run up the national debt, Republicans suddenly claim to be intensely concerned about deficits, which they don't care about that, spending and the size of government, which soon came to be symbolized by their rabid opposition to the Affordable Care Act. It was a heavily astroturfed movement supported by big money donors like the Koch brothers, but it was a genuine grassroots movement as well, largely enabled by the right-wing media and emerging social media platforms. Now, their organizing was impressive, with big marches, cross-country bus tours, and once they got rolling, the riot town hall protest against the healthcare reform. And soon, they were electing people to Congress carrying that message. In 2010, Rand Paul of Kentucky and Marco Rubio of Florida were both Senate Tea Party candidates. But in the House, there were a number of Tea Party winners who signed something they cleverly called the Contract for America, and it went on to form the Freedom Caucus. The founding member, Jim Jordan, was a backbencher elected in 2006 who joined this new revolutionary movement. The Freedom Caucus went on to engineer the ousting of the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, and shut down the government more than once and refused to negotiate in good faith or compromise on anything. But they were drunk with power, and they did what they wanted, and fucked the consequences along with that. But when Donald Trump came along and the Freedom Caucus with the Freedom Caucus rebels, and with their hardcore adherence to free market capitalism, global trade, and slashing government programs, everything got fucking quiet. And they did get some massive tax cuts in the first year of Trump's term, but they were passed by acclamation, and there were certainly no dissenters in the party on that one. Meanwhile, the MAGA movement under Trump took up what was once the undercurrent of the Tea Party movement and the culture war, and they brought it up front to center stage. And no longer did anyone have to pretend that no longer did anyone have to pretend that all they cared about was spending cuts. They could hate on immigrants and black people and gays and Democrats right on the open, and they could do it in the crudest terms possible because Trump enabled them. Conspiracy theories were encouraged to flourish, and loyalty to Trump was the only issue they cared about, which is kind of odd because, for one, people have loyalty to Trump, but Trump has no fucking loyalty to you. So why would you fucking be loyal to a racist piece of shit like him when he doesn't give two fucks about you? That's what I don't understand. And this new Congress finally brings it all to the forefront. It's all come together. The anti-tax, government-slashing extremists are one with the revolutionary maggot culture warriors. Today's Speaker Kevin McCarthy embraces Freedom Caucus member and maggot traitor Marjorie Taylor Greene, while Freedom Caucus founder and maggot leader Jim Jordan leads a crusade to take down the deep state and freedom and the Freedom Caucus member and maggot superstar pedophile Matt Gaetz plots ways to destroy the economy if people don't vote their way. And they are all one. These former maggots and bomb throwers of the establishment now, they are the Republican Party, and the metamorphosis is finally fucking complete. So if you liked the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube, and for just as little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.